Okay, so we actually are not going to start with the reading quiz.
Yay!
We are going to start with an explanation of this research paper.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say we're writing wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
No, we're switching it up today. Okay, this is what I showed you last time. This is the annotated bibliography directions. This is going to be the next step in the research paper process. I wanted you to have this because I am not going to be able to hold your hand on this process. You're going to be doing this on your own.
If we want to come in so you can hold our hands,
Actually, yes. The fact is I'll be here pretty much all summer for the rest of the summer. We start construction on the coffee bar next week, so I'll be here. The fridge is getting delivered tomorrow, so there's that. Very nice.
And minion packaging.
And
I
I
don't
don't
think so cool.
I don't, but there may be a
You
menu.
see this big yellow box come through the doors.
So we'll see. This is something you need to hang on to because this is the exact instructional overview of the annotated bibliography. The only thing this doesn't say is, oh no it does, it says the number that you'll need, which is 5. You need this for 5 sources. And at the bottom is the sample I showed you on Tuesday. So that's that. In terms of due date, I'll explain that momentarily. Yes?
So that's 5 sources regardless of whether you choose to use them or not.
Correct. I would recommend you choose sources you're actually going to use. However, if you don't, that is perfectly fine too. This is the most important piece of paper I will give you today. Because I'm not giving you another copy of this. This is it. Mr. Gardner, here are yours.
Can I have an extra?
No. I only printed off 6. This explains the requirements for the research paper. This explains the due dates for the research paper. This also explains when we'll be giving the final examinations. I'm going to borrow yours for just a moment because I didn't even print off one for myself. This is everything you need to complete this class. Now, as of now, I think the vast majority of you have finished everything up to this point, which is the Turnitin.com submissions, the quizzes. You're up to date. I know Noah's got 1 or 2 things, but I'm sure he'll finish that up. This is everything else that you need to do. Stage 1, annotated bib. You can submit that any time before July 15th, which is a little less than a week from today. The introduction, anytime before July 22nd. The rough draft, anytime before July 29th. The final draft, anytime before August 12th. These are the due dates that Turnitin.com will have. You will not be allowed to submit them after that due date. So make sure they're submitted by then. If you want, you could knock all of this out this weekend, probably, if you spend some serious time on it, and then just be done. But that is when I will be requiring them to be submitted. First day of school is August 24th, so that is about 12 days before the first day of school, and you'll be good to go there. I'll be giving you 3 options in the final exam. What you need to do is email me to tell me which one you are doing, because if no one's going to come in for one of these days, I'm not going to come in either. However, I will be offering the final exam on Tuesday, July 21st, Tuesday, August 4th, and Tuesday, August 11th. I had to do that because the next 2 weeks, I won't have a 90-minute block to sit in here with you. But 90 minutes is what you can plan on. And when you sign up for that date, I'll let you know the time. It's most likely going to be 9:30 or 10 o'clock start time. And we'll just go until 11:30, 90 minutes. You'll need a couple pieces of paper, pencil, possibly a pen, and you'll be good to go. Any other books that you have, you'll need to turn in at that point. Hopefully you can turn most of them in today. So that's that. You've got your research paper, you have the dates for the final exam, you'll be done with your senior year of English before senior year actually even starts. Questions? Kind of anticipated some questions. Oh, here's one.
So how much of the final exam is based on our reading? As in like plot questions?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that just yet. Off the top of my head, here's what I would say. Final exam is worth 15% of your overall grade.
Is it exactly the same as theirs? The one that they'll take?
No.
Okay.
It's being modified to fit this class from the perspective of covering all of the information that we discussed in class. Everything from the timeline on the first day to information about Lord of the Flies at the end of class today. It's going to cover everything, and in between, if we said it in class, if it was mentioned, if it was on the board, it's fodder for the final exam. In addition to that, you will need to know the content of each work, not to the level that the reading quizzes asked you. The reading quizzes were more in-depth and intense than this final exam will be. A working knowledge of every single text will serve you well on this exam. There will be quote matching from significant quotes. So you can expect quotes from Hamlet. You could expect quotes from Lord of the Flies that we'll mention today. Some quotes from Frankenstein, probably about knowledge or fate or Paradise Lost, and possibly a quote or two from Paradise Lost. Some of the major things that we discussed, maybe something from Gulliver's Travels involving the Lilliputians, the Brobdingnagians. There may be a question about the Twilight Zone episode. There will be somewhere between 50 and 75 Scantron questions. Then you can plan on a couple longer short responses, and then a longer response. I'm not going to give you one of those 2-page handwritten essay jobs like I normally give on my exams, because I want to ask you more questions than just one. So, working knowledge of the books, knowledge of everything that we discussed, and decent ability to write, and to write as we discussed, and you'll get at least a B, if not higher.
Are we gonna have access to every video?
Until next week. I'll tell you what I'll do, is this.
Are you gonna take them down?
I'm going to close my Vimeo account because I don't want to pay for a year. My 30-day free trial
You have
ends.
to pay for it? Yeah, why aren't you using YouTube then?
I don't want to take the time to upload all of them. If you want to, you can, because I chose Vimeo instead. I didn't even know I could use YouTube. Okay, thank you very much.
Credit for this?
I will say this. I will turn on the feature on Vimeo that enables you to download the videos. So you can, over the course of the next week, download any videos that you want before I close the account. And if that feature is not turned on when you try to do that, email me and I'll make sure it's set up. Okay. So watch those, get those notes, talk to each other, make sure you're completely caught up in anything. If you're missing anything, turn it in the day of the exam whenever you take that, and you should be good to go. I can give you regular updates on your grade, and hopefully everything will be finalized by the first day of school. You'll know your grade, how you did, and all that kind of stuff. What I'm going to do now is talk to you about the introduction to this research paper. This is an example. This is actually Justin Pedoto's from this year. I'm using this because he got an A on the research paper, and if you follow his format on the introduction, you will get an A at least on the introduction, in terms of the formatting and the way to set it up. The format is very simple. On the overhead, you're going to see the basic idea of what we're going for. The basic idea is you start with your proper heading. So you're going to start with your name, so we'll use Vince. Then you're going to go into one of 3 other things. Any order is fine. English 12 ET. Mr. Carter, and then you're going to do the date, which for today, that would be this. For the date format, you always put the number first, then the month, then the year. We're going to center this for the title. The title, as you know, is always a clever opening, followed by a colon, followed by the topic, followed by the book. Vince, what are you writing your paper on? Okay, so Ola, you're using Frankenstein, and you're doing the Oedipus thing, right? So let's do this.
I got this. I don't got this.
Okay. So let's do something involving mothers for the clever little opening.
You can incorporate something from Ola's submission title
Yeah.
into this.
I don't think we're going to do that. Let's do something like
Mama's boy.
Yo mama's so Frankenstein?
Obsession with mothers.
Thank you.
It's very eloquent.
okay, we can do and if it's more than 2 lines, that's fine, just continue to double space it. Then we're going to go back over here and we're going to start our introduction. And here's our format. Number 1, we are going to include an opening bit to introduce topic. Number 2, a critical overview and summary. Number 3, a transition to our topic and then number 4, our thesis, in that order. So, if you take a look at Justin's intro here and follow along, here's what he does. He's going to be talking about money. So he begins by saying, money is practically impossible to ignore in society. The level of a person's wealth is clearly displayed through the clothes they wear, cars they drive, activities they partake in, or even through their personalities. This is most certainly not a recent observation either, as the divisions in wealth have been clear throughout history. Boom. 3 sentences introducing the topic. We know we're talking about wealth and society. Now he introduces the book. The divisions in wealth are exceptionally clear in F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, where new money, old money, and poverty are all displayed distinctly through the characters in the novel. Critical overview, here we go. Some critics, such as E. Ray Canterbury in his article Thorstein Veblen and The Great Gatsby, state both new wealth, J. Gatsby's, and old wealth, Daisy's, lead to human failings, though the manners are manifested differently. Other critics, like Jacqueline Lance in The Great Gatsby, Driving to Destruction with the Rich and Careless at the Wheel, suggest not only are the characters defined by the kind and color of automobile, but by the way they behave behind the wheel strongly indicates their attitude toward life and relationships. Roger Lewis, in his article, Money, Love, and Aspiration, represents other critics by saying his, Gatsby's, attraction towards wealth is tied to his love for Daisy. That's his critical overview. Note that it is lengthy. Note that it involves at least 3 specific names of critics, the full titles of their articles, and a quote from each. He has already used 3 of his necessary quotes for the research paper, and it's all in his introduction. That's what I'm looking for here. Your critical overview, your summary, should say, some critics, such as this person, say this, other critics, such as this one, say this, still others say this. I say this, which if you remember from 10th grade, this is exactly they say, I say. Some say this, others say this, I say this. Now he's going to transition to his thesis. These critics, as well as numerous others, have all brought up crucial aspects of the novel, although none of them properly covers the importance of wealth of the individual characters in the novel. The levels of wealth held by the different characters shape their personalities in a way that allows the corruption of the American dream and the clashing social classes in the novel to fully come to fruition. The manner in which F. Scott Fitzgerald portrays the old money, new money, and the poor characters in The Great Gatsby is essential to creating the social class division that exists within the novel. Perfect. There it is. So, if we're doing this using Ola's example here, ours is going to look something like this. Now note, I've already done my research, so I already know my sources, I know all that information. I'm just going to start writing, and I'm going to do something like this. The Oedipus complex and its many variations has been around since the dawn of time, at least, at the very least, recorded time. Freud, Sigmund Freud, took the very idea and name of his famous theory from the Sophoclean rendering of the Oedipus story, a story in which a man attempts to thwart his fate but ends up killing his father and marrying his mother. Everything from Shakespearean plays to comical films such as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure deals in some way with this subconscious Okay, that's my opening. Just took me a couple minutes, 3-sentence opening, that's it. It introduces me to this topic. Now I need a sentence that's going to tie in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Pretty easy to do. Ola, give me a sentence.
In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein features these characteristics, or the characteristics of an Oedipus complex.
Okay, that's it. So that's stage, what are we on, stage 2 here? Introduce it, we go from the book, now we go to the critical summaries. So she's very simply going to do something like this. A number of critics have touched upon, now Ola, have you done any research yet? Have people discussed this yet? Okay, so it is out there. So here's how she's going to approach it. Since people have discussed it, she's going to say a number of critics have touched upon this idea in their research, including insert name, whose article, insert title, and by the way, these article titles are super lengthy. One nice thing about that, it makes your introduction longer. Your introduction on this paper is probably going to be a page, page and a half, sometimes even 2 pages, and that's okay. It is okay, trust me. We might even break it into 2 paragraphs, but it's okay.
You can break it into 2
You
paragraphs?
can. It should be
Where
very-
would you usually break it?
You would probably, it depends on how much information you need to lead into your thesis. I've seen some people break it after the critical summary, so that the next paragraph says, although these critics have touched upon this subject, no one has gone so far as to say this. And then they explain, and then the thesis. I've seen some people break it halfway through the critical summary. Some critics say this, others say this. New paragraph. Still, even other critics have gone on to say this. As long as it's a clear break, it's fine. Okay. Including insert name, whose article, insert title, suggests, insert quote. Boom. Other critics, including insert name, you kind of get the thing, whose article, insert title, goes so far as to say, insert quote. While these critics have touched upon this idea, still others have shown how this impacts Victor's own personal life. These critics let's see this. One such critic, insert name, whose article, insert title, deals with this, states, insert quote. Now, she's got her critical summary. She's got 3 specific critics, she has 3 quotes, 3 titles, she's ready for the next step. And note, this is already a fairly lengthy introduction. If we double space this, that's about as long as your typical introductions on these papers, and I haven't even put in the quotes or anything. There's going to be well over a page, and that's okay. She now needs to transition to her thesis. In this paper, and you can use first person here, that's fine. I intend to follow in the trail of these critics, but I will deal specifically with how this Oedipal conflict impacts the relationship between Victor and his creation. It is this relationship that is central to the novel and central to the novel's ultimate purpose. In the novel, the Oedipal conflict between Victor and the monster is what brings about the primary conflict which leads to the novel's tragic conclusion. There you go. So, But, you know, I mean, I've already got my quotes ready, I've done my research. I sit down to write this, it takes me 10 minutes. But note this, I already know where I want to go, and I already know my research. All I'm doing here is plugging in the formatting. That's it. Oh,
So do you want every critic's name that we're like going to be sourcing in this intro?
not necessarily. All I want is the critical overview. So if you think of it like this, you find your 5 sources, put them into groups. So say, these people kind of say the same thing, these people kind of say the same thing, this guy's over here by himself. As long as you mention a few in your introduction, that's fine. As soon as you've mentioned them, so if you mention them in your introduction, from that point on, you reference them by last name only. But every time you bring up a new critic, so let's say you're in your second body paragraph, and you want to bring up a new critic, you bring up that new critic the same way you did with the ones in the introduction. Say, F. Feinstein has touched upon this subject in his article, such and such, when he stated this. You can use paraphrases, and that's fine. I personally think in a research paper of this magnitude, direct quotes look better and come across as more polished. Your direct quote requirement is 10, I believe, from secondary. No. 5 from secondary and 5 from primary. That's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, isn't it 12 total?
It says 10 total.
No,
No, that's a minimum.
yeah.
And you're going to have 3 just from your introduction.
Is it bad if we have more, if we feel like somebody else has something valuable to add?
It's good.
Okay.
This is a bare minimum, scraping the surface. And by the way, your primary citations, if I were you, I'd shoot for between 7 to 10 from primary. Because you are primarily focused with analyzing your book. And you should very easily find a lot of quotes from your book that could work. And here's a trick. You're reading your articles, the critical articles. Those people are going to cite from the book. Use their citations. Okay, so they've used this quote from Frankenstein that you really like. Search for that quote to find the page number and use that yourself. That's fine. That's not stealing. They're using the primary source. You're using the same source. So it might help you find some good quotes to use. And you can even give them reference to that too. You can say, so-and-so touched upon this subject and used this quote, which I am also including. However, this quote also deals with that. You're basically writing a synthesis essay where you insert your own view. So you're taking what these people have said, but you're putting your own view into it. So that's kind of what this is. Almost like a collage in some ways. Taking all these things, putting them together. The point is, you have to show how what you are saying is different than these critics. It may not be drastically different, but there should at least be a different angle or slightly different direction or different focus. You might even find critics that you disagree with, where you're going to say, this critic says this, however, it is actually this that causes the primary conflict. And that's fine. You're entering into the conversation about the novel, and you're doing it with full force in a research paper. If your introduction looks like this and has that polished feature, and you have the proper formatting, you have page numbers, your paper will look like an A regardless of its content. And if it looks like an A, that's going to be the first thing that I see. And I'm going to say, wow, polished, looks nice. So at least you're starting at the top. Now your content might be all messed up and it might not get you an A. But if you start looking polished, it's like a job interview. You show up dressed appropriately, you are already at a better start than, say, someone who's not dressed appropriately. Like if Scotty Sauce Cups showed up for a job interview, you know what that would look like.
Oh.
I say this because a few weeks ago, Scotty Sauce Cups was sitting in my class, removing clothing while another student was giving a speech.
Okay.
Culminating
At your orders.
culminating in him
Not even requests,
being
orders.
shirtless on top of a desk.
You wanted it that way. You needed it that way.
I merely
You want him
threw
on that
out
desk.
the idea.
You need him on that desk.
He ran with it.
Absolutely not. You were with him every step of the way. holding his hand and rubbing his nipple.
Cannot deny it.
That
Cannot deny it. What Badger says is always true.
Cat.
Alright. Research paper questions, last chance, before I kind of leave you to do your thing with it. This is the last time we will be discussing the research paper as a class.
Can I research what exactly went down when you touched your man's nipple?
There's
Where-
hardly any evidence of this.
There's
Really
virtually
hard
no
pressed to
evidence,
find
and one by one, you'll notice the witnesses have been disappearing. If all goes well, it'll be within the same hour, because that's how I roll.
I thought we were in this together, man. Chill.
Okay. I might leave one witness.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, any questions? Yes.
Is there a page maximum?
Devin,
Oh God.
Devin,
I'd say like 20 pages.
I'll tell you. I'll give you my honest answer. If someone like Alec asked that question, I would not give an honest answer.
What?
What? I say to Alec, write a 3-page paper, he writes a page and a half. Do you know what I mean? If your paper is good and has me interested, you can write as much as you want. If I lose interest, I stop reading.
1,200 pages.
Sure, you could
Where do you stop reading that?
At the 5 to 7 page mark.
You could write a
Now-
erotic novel.
If your paper
That would cute.
has anything and is even remotely submitted, it will be better than Christian Miller's research paper, which I have still not received.
I thought I sent that to you. That's why I was
Oh
asking,
my
because
gosh.
I heard this was, I heard the number 27 is.
He claimed it would be between 27 and 40 pages when finished. I've still not received it.
Well, yeah,
I do not
he
think
passed
I'll
high
be
school and
receiving.
got into a college.
He got a D. I don't know how that happened. I'm gonna have to change the percentages in that class so that can't happen in the future. But he did pass.
Wait, so he did pass. The only thing he didn't do was the research paper.
Correct.
Well, then, yeah, you should probably pass. It's one thing.
It is one thing, but it is
Everything
the
else.
thing.
But he did every other part of the
Yeah, he
class.
clearly did well
And he
enough.
scraped by.
Did he get the grades? No, he clearly did nothing well enough to still pass without turning in a whole research.
Exactly. I feel
So
like
it's not
he's
like he
earned
didn't-
it.
That's not like he didn't put in the work
Yeah,
hour.
this was
Alec.
well
He's
calculated.
Alex.
definitely earned it.
You are already thinking, I can tell, about the possibilities this holds for you.
No, you can't, Alec. You got no shot. No way.
I mean, if you think about it, this research paper and this final exam are worth combined 30% of the class. So if you have, up to this point, a 100%, you could skip these two things and get a C.
Or,
Literally no.
If you have a B, you can get a D.
Yes.
Pass.
I don't think you have a B though, Alec. I don't think you have a
Oh.
If-
So
if
you might need to do
this
one
is
of the
90,
two.
This isn't
You
a
can
plan.
get a 60 and pass.
Okay, okay.
Put in like 1 or 2 hours of effort, make it like a 50 on the research paper. That's like, that's right. Like 50.
You can approach this very strategically.
You're the devil,
and get
Jim.
your D.
You're an enabler.
And if you
You're-
want to
you're
see,
enabling.
if you want to see, you're just talking about an extra hour of effort. Maybe show up for the exam.
Maybe so.
Maybe answer the essay questions, skip the Scantron, and you'll probably get a D, but you will have passed. So there's that. Okay? There's that. All right. We are going to go on with a reading quiz.